It's Wednesday, May 23rd, 2012. It's the 404 Show on CNET TV. I'm Jeff Bacalar.
And I'm Justin Yu, and this is the show where Facebook fizzles, and we're happier for it.
Oh.
Ooh.
And I'm Aunt Jill, and I'm everybody's aunt. Don't forget it. Last time when I was on, we were talking all about the Facebook IPO. Remember, we got some questions about buying the Facebook IPO.
We did, and we got questions even when you were gone as well.
Yeah, like, whoa, shouldn't I buy it? And what did I say? Boring old Aunt Jill said, chill out.
Yeah.
This thing is all hype.
Yeah.
And it could have, listen, it could have, if it had gone up $5 or $8, everyone would have said, you dingbat, I should have gotten in. But it's a long way between now and then. The stock fell. So in the first day of trading, right, it goes up a little bit.
Right.
23 cents. The next 2 days goes down 18%.
That's a lot.
That's a big number. High 18,
Exactly. It doesn't take a big economist to realize that sucks.
Or a social media genius to realize that's a big time thumbs down, right?
So, dislike.
The dissing and disliking all over the place. So now the news today, which is coming out of, so this is when I love when our worlds converge, because the news is really interesting. First of all, that there was this huge technological glitch on the NASDAQ the first day of trading. It's like, let's say you knew that you were going to have the biggest offering, or the second biggest offering in American history. Wouldn't you be prepared?
Probably test out the machine before.
Let's see if this works.
Is it related? Do you think it's a coincidence?
It is. I think it is a terrible coincidence.
There's
terrible.
Conspiracy theorists out there.
People are saying that it's because they rigged the machine to automatically post his Facebook status, to post Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook status at the same time. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it.
No, they got flooded with orders. They completely blew it. The technology broke down.
Yeah.
Now there's the lawsuit where investors are saying we're going to sue the NASDAQ because here's what happened. It's kind of like, the worst case scenario if you're a trader. You're working at a big firm. You're managing money. And you say, all right, I put an order in which said I own Facebook at 38. I put an order in to sell my shares at 45, 42, whatever it was. Then I decide, you know what, forget it. I'm going to cancel the order. I'll just have it. So you cancel the order, but you get no confirmation that your order is canceled. You don't know whether you've sold it or not. You don't know whether you're long it or flat. And these people, there's some people who lost real money in this, for real, and they're going to go after the NASDAQ to see if they can get compensated for that loss. That's one thing. The second thing.
Sounds like they have a case, though, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, the second thing that's happened is now there's this whole story about the underwriters, right?
Yeah.
The bankers who put the deal together. They are now being accused of some shenanigans. I love that word.
Shenanigans. I call shenanigans.
Okay. Yeah, see? It was a shenanigan. Here's what the accusation is. Now, the company's out on the road show and is everyone says, oh my God, there's a ton of demand. Everybody wants it. And on May 9th, Facebook amends its S-1 filing with the SEC. And in that filing, it basically says there's a very small note about how their results may fall in the next year. Some revenue could be lower.
Okay.
And it's not exact, and it's not like a science. The numbers aren't in there. It's sort of innocuous, but it definitely ratchets down the expectations. At the same time, Facebook executives allegedly decided they wanted to really make sure that they got $38 a share. They wanted the price to be 38, and they added more shares to the offering. So now all of a sudden we have a whole bunch of things happening at once. We have the company saying maybe our numbers aren't quite as good. We have the company saying to the investment bankers, we want $38 a share. We want to sell our shares out, and we're going to sell more shares. So there's tons of supply. Now, the underwriters, led by Morgan Stanley, say, great, because everyone says they want a ton of this. At the same time, at Morgan Stanley, their analyst says that he is downgrading his expectations for Facebook's revenue. You don't write a report because when you're on the roadshow, you're prohibited from putting a public report out. You're allowed to have verbal conversations with clients during the roadshow, with the institutions that are buying this, not with little retail investors. 80% of the people who are buying shares are institutions. That can mean a hedge fund. It can mean Fidelity, our mutual funds.
Sure.
That's where most of the offering is. So now people are freaking out. They're saying, wait a minute, are you saying that Morgan Stanley tapped the shoulder of the big guys, said, listen, don't go crazy with this because the numbers aren't looking so good. But the little guy who was the retail investor like you and me, who may have bought a few, a little bit at the opening, didn't know that information.
So it's it's not insider trading.
It
but
feels like that.
Yeah.
I spoke to a couple of securities lawyers this morning preparing for my show appearance here on the 404. And they said there's something kind of interesting, which is disturbing if it's true. But two different people said to me, the rules of an IPO are rigged against the little guy always.
Right.
I said, wait a minute, what do you mean? I thought everybody gets the same information. It's the same filing. They said, yeah, but, the underwriters are allowed to talk to the institutional clients, but they're not supposed to talk to the retail investor during the roadshow. How is that fair? And they said, but that's the rule. And I'm like, really? I got to check that out. I wasn't so sure, and I haven't found out. But two different attorneys at two different law firms told me that. Mm-hmm. So I'm inclined to think that may be true.
I don't understand how that could be fair.
Well, because basically an IPO is really for the benefit of two people, the people selling the shares and the institutions coming in and buying those shares. Now, the institutions, theoretically, would be nice if, like, the guy at Fidelity who got the tap on the shoulder, don't buy so many shares, told the people in their brokerage accounts, hey, we just got this tap on the shoulder. We're going to tap you on the shoulder, small investor. Right. But evidently, you're not supposed to talk to retail investor during the roadshow, but you can talk to the institution.
But it's like privileged information.
That's what it feels like.
And it should trickle down. And
it seems
not.
Terrible.
I guess what I'm wondering is it typical for a company like Facebook to amend their S-1 filing, saying that they might not have a good quarter in the future?
It is not typical. And that was a big tip-off. A lot of people said, even without there being any verbal communication between Morgan Stanley, the fact that that institutions, these big players, said, wait a minute, they amended their filing. It's going out at the top of the range, and they're adding too many shares to this offering. Right. So what I understand from some hedge fund guys is they got the shares at 38, they blew them out at 40, 41, 42, and they went short at 42, meaning they sold shares and bet against Facebook, driving it all the way down. And the first day it closed at 38.23, but the second day, which was after the big underwriters sort of stopped buying the stock, the floodgates opened.
It's really interesting. What's
cool,
happening.
Right?
It's cool.
It's sort of like a crazy story, right?
It's forced me to really try and learn as much as I can about the whole thing, because it's the first time where I understand why things are happening. Seriously, and it sounds pathetic. It took me 30 years to understand the stocks and stuff like that. You
didn't have an Aunt Jill then?
I didn't.
How would you
I've
know?
only had an Aunt Jill for a couple of years.
Right.
Sharon wants to know, did Zuckerberg lose $2 billion through all this? On paper.
On paper, right? But remember what happened. He gets shares. He sold some shares for himself at $38. So that's perfect. He gets that money. It's off the table. The rest of the shares that he retained went down. And on paper, it looks like he lost $2 billion. Big deal. Rounding error, $18 billion to $16 billion.
Chump change.
How about that girl, though? You think she signed a prenup?
No.
The wife?
You think?
What are you crazy if I would?
I mean, I don't know. He's an unconventional dude.
Here's the deal you cut with her. You say, honey, I love you. We've been together forever.
Right. Have they?
You've been part of since Harvard.
Since Harvard.
Right? So, you've been part of the ride. I'm a total loser geek. You took a shot at me, and now I'm a
he's
cool
not a
guy.
loser.
He was then.
It paid off now, yeah.
Right?
Jesse Eisenberg portrays him as this sort of...
I bet he was, though. Okay, let's just say he was.
He was kind of a jerk. Yeah,
he did sort of seem like a jerk, right?
Jerk.
And so let's say that that's true. Okay, so she finds the love in him.
Yeah.
She sees the beauty in that.
And the dollars.
Through the acne.
Okay, so now he's worth 18B, right? And he says to her, we're getting married, I love you. No matter whatever happens, if we get divorced, we don't get divorced.
Yeah. Sign
this paper, you get $5 billion, we walk away, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'd sign that in a second.
Of course you would. $5 billion?
Or even I would do it for $1 billion.
I'd do it for 500.
Don't sell yourself short. Haven't I taught you anything?
It's true.
$1 billion at least.
$1 billion at least. I want to know.
She had to put up with him.
I want to know what happened with that. There had to be a prenup.
There had to be a prenup.
There had to be. It's too much money.
This guy's like lawyered up to his yin-yang.
But think about it. If he did, if he didn't do it and they broke up, she would get half.
Automatically.
All right.
California.
Woe is me. $8 billion.
Still, California community property state, bad place to break up.
After you're in the black for so much money.
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. Paul McCartney seems to not care. He seems to keep getting married and breaking up and giving his money away.
You don't care.
Listen, every
He
time
would literally need to get married and divorced 150,000 times for it to start affecting his bank flow.
I am not I've never signed a prenup in my life, although I probably should have given my track record. It always cost me money to get out of these relationships. I'll tell you that much. Well, I'm not ever on the receiving end of that for some reason. But I can understand that if you're worth $18 billion, you say, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's paper it up. Let's get done. He also, as you say, he may be so unconventional, he might not care. Who gives?
Yeah,
right?
I don't think he really cares.
I'm worth this. You're worth this. Who cares?
I think his attitude comes through in what's all sort of happening right now. And I think it was like, the drama was sort of boiling before it went public, and now that it is, it's just sort of overflowing.
So there's a big rumor now on the street that he's like, one of the analysts said, this guy, Zuckerberg's such an egomaniac. The reason he priced it at 38 is that he wanted a market capitalization of $100 billion.
Just to have that nice round number? Just to have
the number. Like he
See,
had to
he's
have
a lunatic.
That. He is a little bit of a lunatic. I mean, who knows if that's true or not. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal this morning about the chief financial officer of the firm, whose name is escaping me right now, but who sounds like a micromanaging megalomaniac. Yeah. And so it sounds like he really pushed the underwriters around quite a bit. So, look, you know what? There's egg on the face of everybody. Nobody wanted to see this thing go down 18%. I think the ideal scenario was it goes out at 38, it goes up, to 42, it settles at 40, chills out for a while, moves aside. I think this 18% dump is quite surprising. It's bad for the company. It's bad for NASDAQ. It's bad for Morgan Stanley. It's bad for all the underwriters. But you know what? It's early days.
Yeah.
A few days in. We got what's it trading at right now, Justin? Anthony.
At 32 and 18.
$32.18. So it's up about 3.5%, 4%, right?
Yep.
All right. So climbing back up that hill.
It still stumbled. It stumbled out of the gate. I mean,
it stumbled out. It was funny. The first day of trading, when I saw the first hour, I said, "Uh-oh, something bad's happening."
Yeah.
I'm an old. Is
that what you see when you look at the tickers?
Yeah.
Do you see what the people in the Matrix see?
Yes.
That's you
what
can
I
sort
see.
Of tell the
I do.
future.
I divine it. My father calls tape reading.
That's amazing.
So you see the volume. You see the types of orders that are placed. You see that the volume on the sell side starts to accelerate pretty quickly.
It's amazing.
Pretty wild.
You see what I see when I look at the box score on a hockey game.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I can tell.
By the way, I just want to be clear with everybody that last time I was on, I wore red after the Devils won.
Okay.
All right. So there was no game last night. That's why I'm not wearing Devils red. I'm very anxious about tonight.
You're not. You think you're anxious?
I feel that Jeff, we need to have an intervention with him if there's something doesn't go his way.
It's going to be bad. If things don't work out, it's just letting everyone know.
But I'm just saying that
bad.
right now, the best case scenario for you right now is that they win tonight and then they take it at home.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
You don't want them to lose tonight and win the last two and then have to win in the Garden. Although, wouldn't it be fun if they beat them in the Garden?
It would be fun, but let's win tonight.
Okay.
We digress a little bit.
Okay,
It's just, oh, man, is it tough.
It is tough. So anyway, I'm glad that most of our fans here did not buy Facebook because you know what? Why?
Yeah.
Why do it?
I don't think anyone did. And we relayed that same advice that you gave us a couple weeks ago when you were sort of like, wait, play the waiting game, see what happens.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be good advice, of course. We should expect anything less.
Right, exactly. So I'm sort of sick of the Facebook story. I did tweet this yesterday that it's like enough already.
All right, fine. But will you humor us for a couple more moments?
Yeah,
an interesting read here from Technology Review, which is published by MIT. Headline is called "The Facebook Fallacy." All right.
Yeah.
Written by Michael Wolff. For all its valuation, the social network, Facebook, is just another ad-supported site. Without an earth-changing idea, it will collapse and take down the web.
Wow.
Strong words. Basically, to sort of summarize what this guy is saying, he's basically saying that all of this was just way overhyped. And at the end of the day, it's all about impressions and CPMs and stuff like that.
So guess what? That is true. Yeah. I agree with that. And we know that because we know that there was only 12% of their revenue that didn't come from ads last year, right? So, but that said, we work for a company that makes a crap load of money on advertising. It's called CBS.
But don't you think that our ads are, even though Facebook knows more about you than your own mother,
right?
There's still something about, this sort of abstractness and randomness of Facebook ads, and the way that they're built into the site are much less appealing than they are on retail or on other sites like our own. I feel like somebody's much more inclined to click us an ad on CNET than they are on Facebook.
I guess so, but I'd be a little bit nervous about saying the death of display is, the reliance on display is going to be their death knell, because I keep looking at the TV model, which is, everyone said nobody is watching television.
Mm-hmm.
This model is going away. And yet, I look at the CBS earnings and it's astounding how much money you make from advertising.
Right.
So I agree. I'm not, look, you know me, I'm not a Facebook fan. I just did it because you told me to do it, frankly. By the way, both of you.
But seriously, it's still a different experience.
It is
Getting
a very
fed
different...
a commercial on TV is so much different than just having
right, because one relies on you proactively making something happen. The other one is coming. But
it's passive.
Right, it's passive. So, but that said, there is so much information, there's mining of information, and there is technology. Explain to me, what is this called when you can log into other sites through Facebook? What's that called again?
I don't know the technical term
Open
for
Graph.
Yes,
okay,
right. And that some of the analysts said to me, that's actually a very killer value, and that there is much to be said about Facebook. I think they know they can't be a display advertising model forever. But I also wouldn't sell them short.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that, and I agree, their technology is where they really, have sort of like a corner on the market there. Mm-hmm. I also think that just like Twitter, their primary sort of go-to characteristic is this data that they have. They own so much data. Like Twitter has basically become, this sort of the stenographer of life on Earth. You know what I mean? Where it's just everything.
First of all, I love that you use the word stenographer, because Justin, do you know what a stenographer is?
Of course
little
he does.
person who sits in the courtroom.
Yeah, the recorder.
Right?
Why is he little? Why are they little?
They're always
they have little fingers.
The
nimble
little
fingers.
machine is this big, right? It's not a typewriter, right? It's very weird.
They type free shorthand. Right?
I love that. I
but
like that
it's true.
metaphor.
It's the life that. Now Twitter explains everything. When you want to know if something's happening, you go to Twitter.
It's the ticker tape of life.
It really is. Exactly. There you go.
In my world.
Two sick ass analogies in a row.
Dang.
But yeah, that's sort of what it is. So their value is data, but they still haven't really harnessed that and blown the doors off in terms of generating revenue.
I have to say that you guys had been a little bit younger when this was all happening, but I felt like we had these very similar conversations around Amazon, where people would say, okay, I get it. They've got tons of people coming there, but they're just not making enough money, and it's just books. And then all of a sudden, you saw that Amazon became a much more valuable company because of the way that they could bring other items in, and then it did become sort of this amazing retailer of everything, right?
They laid the groundwork, and then were able to build upon.
So the question really is, you're still making the same bet. Do I believe that this management team has now laid the groundwork for something really awesome in the future, and we don't know yet, and hence why I would never buy the stock.
It's crazy though, because they're getting close to 1 billion users.
Right.
They have more than 900 million now. So it's like, all right, they're gonna run. It's like, are they running out of time to really make their impression?
I mean, you guys are more the experts about that than I am. I mean, but some of this is habit, right? I'm on Facebook. What will replace that mode of communication?
I mean, so far there's always been something new,
right? Right.
Historically speaking, I know the internet is still technically in its infancy, right? In the grand scheme of things.
Sure.
Will there be something new? I don't know.
Well, it's funny you bring up the internet.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just thinking that there's some people who think there's bad things happening in the internet.
It's crazy. It's a great transition.
Did I blow your? Did I?
Not at all. This is a perfect segue. We talked about this last week, Justin?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
When they were selling tickets for it.
Oh, they were selling tickets on the internet.
Yeah.
Evil internet.
More than 40,000 ultra-Orthodox Jews came together in protest of the internet. And this happened, I believe, over the weekend or last week.
Not on Shabbat, I'm sure.
No, at Citi Field. It was probably like a Sunday afternoon. Can you do it Sunday afternoon?
Sure.
Is that kosher?
Yeah. Sunday's good. Saturday bad.
Saturday bad. 40,000 Jews. They show up at Citi Field where the Mets play, and
I'm sure that the Wilpons charge them a pretty penny to rent out the stadium. They need all
the cash they can get, and basically they were there to protest the evils of the internet. Okay.
Okay, but what What?
Yeah, I know.
Scratch my head on this one.
It's just it's a little strange. It's to me, I mean, this not like this is one guy sort of leading. It's 40,000 people that showed up.
Yeah, but
at
okay,
this thing.
now Justin, don't say anything during this segment because you will be seen as anti-Semitic.
Yeah, there's
Jeff and I,
very, very
Jeff
careful
and I
right
can
now.
speak freely.
And
about
we'll only
Jews.
come off as self-deprecating.
Exactly, self-hating Jews.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
Typical.
I mean, be clear that these types of Jews would not consider us Jews.
No, they
Right.
would spit in our
They would
faces.
say,
Probably.
"Treif." Ugh, terrible.
They would literally,
But
just look the other
this
way.
is a disturbing idea that you can have 40,000 people who basically want to sort of try to put a genie back in the bottle or go back in time. Now, I'm not saying that there's all beautiful content on the web. It's disgusting and awful. We all know that.
Right.
You would think that there would be a more constructive way that 40,000 people could come together and saying, we don't like that worldwide interweb that Al Gore created,
Yeah.
and instead say, come out and do something really positive and say, here's what we think would be great if we could
Right.
get, we want to do something where parents are monitoring their kids or whatever it is, like doing more education and saying there's so much amazing, glorious information from the web and there's a lot of crap. Let's try to avoid the crap. But to just say, denounce the internet.
Yeah.
I hate the phone.
Exactly.
I don't want phones.
And that was the point I was going to bring up. It's the same thing. Like, pick your poison. As we evolve and move on, there's always going to be something new. Look, the internet. It's a big deal. It's changed everybody's life.
Absolutely.
For better or worse, it's changed everybody's life. And people, we as humans, we just we adapt with that. It's part of our evolution.
And it's okay. And then, there's always going to be a downside. There's nothing that's like pure. And I mean, and I guess for these guys, the purity would be to be back in a shtetl in, in Eastern Europe and not have electricity. That would be fantastic also. But I don't see a lot of them. I mean, on the Sabbath, they don't, drive. But I don't see a lot of them saying, I don't want to be in a car.
Yeah.
I don't want to use a telephone.
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
It is ridiculous because, like we said, there are so many sort of almost hypocritical elements to daily. I mean, this thing was this organized just by word of mouth? Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe.
I doubt it.
But you look at all these
Yeah.
photos and you see these guys. They're on their cell phones. They're embracing other technologies. I'm sure, I am positive, when the phone became mainstream, not the cell phone, when the landline phone, people were We're never going to leave the house.
Right. Look what happened with television.
Exactly.
Radio,
Same
television,
thing.
right?
I mean, was there a similar sort of gathering after, cable TV became pervasive?
No, we were all watching that great stuff on Channel J.
Exactly. To me, it's a little upsetting.
know.
It's upsetting
don't
to
you
me.
guys think that a big part of this was probably arguing for accountability and just giving people information on how they can browse the internet safely with their families? Like, it probably wasn't entirely
did they
a
do
protest.
That?
I don't know.
I mean, the question is if they did that, okay, maybe. But if
Right.
it's just the anti, I'm never into just the anti.
Right.
It's like, I just don't like this. Well, tell me what you do like. What can we do with it? It's here.
Well,
Everyone knows
if-
there's bad stuff on the internet.
Right.
Of course.
We look for
There's
it
bad stuff
constantly.
everywhere.
I know
There's bad stuff
exactly where it
everywhere.
is.
Right, exactly. I know exactly.
It's all in your bookmarks.
The Verge had a write-up about this. They sent the guy who quit the internet to go here,
Right, that's awesome.
which is actually perfect. There's basically a couple talking points that the Verge brought up, and for all due respect, this is really a really good write-up. So they sort of categorized it in a few talking points. Number one, the internet is full of filth. Okay,
And it is.
but you know what? So is planet Earth.
I know, right? Well,
You know?
I mean, is it better to have it on the internet or is it better in a strip mall?
Would you rather
know?
Would you rather be exposed to it in
Times Square?
in point blank range or through the privacy of your own home? All right. Number two, the internet changes who you are. Okay, everything changes who you are. Living your life as a human, your day to day.
Well, why does the internet do
everything-
that? It's your responsibility to be who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Smacking
these guys down
I
one by
I
one.
just I just don't
comment.
I just don't understand.
be careful.
You can you please speak freely.
Yeah.
Speak freely because just like
I love
like
everybody.
this organization, you can speak freely.
That's right.
Right?
Sure.
So everyone has their own opinion. I mean, to me, I sort of think they're just a little misguided.
What is there more beyond? They said it's full of smut
That was their two main talking points.
and it changes who you are.
And it changes who you are. And, a lot of beliefs in ultra-orthodox Judaism is sort of this almost isolation. and having like a very private relationship with God.
Right.
And it's just to me.
Like, what about looking at it and say, like, wow, how cool is it that you could bring ultra-Orthodox Jews from all over the world together and come to, like, your website and learn more and have people understand about what you do? In other words, if it's all negative, it's easy to discount. And if they're more balanced, then it's easier to say, hey, maybe they got a point there. Some of this is kind of crap. Everyone knows it's crap. But, it just, of course they wouldn't say anything about, like, oh, we're worried about girls being exploited on the internet because they really don't see women as anything.
No.
As you know.
As equals. They do not.
No.
Which is why they weren't at this conference.
Right.
No, not
exactly.
a woman.
So
Nary a woman.
There's a lot of problems.
We think.
There's a lot of problems. As
the Jewish woman in the room,
But it's just
outraged.
really it's upsetting.
Of course.
It's upsetting, and the publicity of this paints a very negative picture
of Jews.
Of Jews.
I know.
It's
always when we, like when there's a guy arrested on Wall Street and he's Jewish, my mother will call me up and say, "Oh, and he's Jewish."
That's a hit
so
against
it sort
all
of feels like
it brought us back another 10 years.
Right. If this were some fundamentalist XYZ group that that was not Jews, I don't think I'd be reacting as strongly. I definitely agree with you, Jeff, that there's this feeling like, I'm a whatever lame Jew, but I know that. But it's like, oh, really? It has to be the Jews who are being like kind of weird about this? I don't know.
Look, it's not as bad, nowhere near as bad as like a Westboro Baptist Church sort of thing.
Right.
You know, where it's just maniacal lunatics.
All right.
I think people understand this is extremism too.
Yeah,
right?
But it is. But it is.
But it's 40,000 of them.
Orthodox Jews. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
They weren't breaking the law. They weren't doing anything nasty.
No.
But at the end of the day, it's upsetting as someone who is Jewish and is very much involved in the internet
and loves his porn
and understands that it's a natural evolution of human communication and interaction.
That's right. And
it's an unavoidable sort of progression.
It's sort of it seems to me also it's a cop-out because you don't blame technology, you blame the human beings and how we use it. And so let's figure out how to help people use it better. Right. Which, by the way, someday I think I might have to bring my nephew in here for a broadcast before he goes to college so you guys can scare the crap out of him about what he puts on like Facebook and stuff while he's in college.
Yeah, you've already made your bed.
I already said, Dougie, you're going to have to be careful in college because you guys, you're going to put stuff up, you do this, you do that. And I think he's kind of blowing me off a little bit. And I'm like, I know just the men to do this.
There's a couple interviews on the Post here, and they're talking about how, the internet breeds hate and it breeds all these terrible things.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, but it's not the first time we've ever seen that. And if you look at the world history, some pretty awful, terrible things have happened when there was no internet.
Yes.
Some pretty god-awful, terrible, things that no one ever thought would happen.
I would say that the thing that is very interesting and unique about the internet in terms of both kids and now, as an adult who blogs, is the anonymity of it is very interesting. Like people can say nasty stuff and be anonymous, which, I get it. Like, you're a wuss. Fine, you don't want to use your real name. I get it. But that's the one part of it. Like, I wish that we could somehow figure out how to make sure that it was, if you're going to say something nasty in a comment in a blog post.
Well, that's what the Facebook thing is with logging in. A lot of websites only let you log in if it's you.
Right. And then if you, exactly. And that we know who you are and we know if you're talking trash about something that, and
I also think a statement like that on the internet carries so much less weight than it does in real life.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So, it is what it is. I'm very curious to hear what people have to say about this. Call us up, 866-404-CNET, or email us at the 404 at cnet.com. We don't even have time to get to questions or anything like that.
What?
Do you want to do one?
One.
You want to do one? Okay, let's do one, and then we'll have to say goodbye for today.
By the way, we're going to say goodbye because they got to blow me off for lunch today, guys. I have to go by myself.
That's Jeff's fault.
Oh, you're gonna
Justin and I might go get a salad by
ourselves. You guys should.
No, I can't do it without you. And Richard, forget it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, you wanted that.
All right, let's maybe. Do you have one that you want to get to?
You go first.
Okay, let's get to one that we have in our rundown. This is from Derek.
Okay.
I recently started my first job out of college, and I have two questions about retirement. My old work-study job with my school has a defined contribution plan.
Yep.
And they're also closing my account because I'm short of the minimum account balance.
Okay.
Would it be better to roll it into a new IRA or an existing account? And just so you know, he has both an IRA, which he no longer contributes to, and a 401k that's with his new employer.
The new one. Okay.
What's now there's like a two-part thing.
Go.
What's a good distribution for 401k investments? I'm currently contributing 16% of my salary. That's
baby.
a lot.
Sweet.
Plus his 8% company match, and have 80% going into growth portfolios and 20 into a balanced index fund. This is from Derek. What should he do?
Okay, here we go, Derek. I don't know how old you are. You're taking too much risk in your portfolio. Let's start there. So you should probably be, instead of 80% growth and 20% balanced index, make it more like 60-40, 65-35, something like that. You don't need to take that much risk. You can take risk because you're young, obviously. Roll over the old retirement account into your existing IRA account, and just so you can have it all in one place. And chances are, because people move around more, I'm more comfortable saying, you'll end up probably with one big fat IRA account. Make sure that IRA account is held in a place that has no load index mutual funds. I'm talking about Vanguard, Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, Charles Schwab, something that's really cheap for you to be investing in. No load index funds. That's the key.
All right.
How
Great.
about that?
Aaron from Champaign, and I guess this will be our last one because we're really running out of time. A few appearances ago, it was brought up that you should never close a credit card due to it apparently harming your credit score.
Right.
This episode was taped literally the day after I closed one of my 2 cards. I closed it due to the low limit and the fact that I was using my new Discover card mainly for cashback bonuses because he spends so much on gas and stuff like that.
Okay.
His Discover card has a limit of $3,500, so he's gained $2,500 in available credit just from this one card. Did closing that smaller $1,000 limit card hurt his credit that much? He nearly freaked out when he heard that closing it was a bad idea.
No, don't freak out.
He hardly has any debt and paid off his car nearly a year ago.
Okay. Good news is this did not harm you that much.
Okay.
What harms you the most is missing bills, when you don't pay your bills, when you miss a payment, when you're late on your credit card or your mortgage or utilities.
So a missed payment is much more detrimental.
Much worse, much worse. So what we're talking about when you close out cards is that the amount of available credit is part of your credit score. So the reduction of losing that 1,000 may be, as he said, offset by having an increased credit limit. But in general, do yourselves a favor. And again, I don't think this is a big deal, so please don't freak out about it. But because it already happened, and who cares? We're over that.
Right. It's in the past.
Pay your bills. Keep doing what you're doing. If possible in the future, if you don't use a credit card, just pop it into your desk drawer. Don't use it.
Cut it up.
Yeah, you can cut it up and not worry about it.
Yeah.
The only thing is if they start charging annual fees for that card, then you have different decisions to make.
So if that's the thing, there's some cards that do charge annual fees. I feel like you'd kind of be a little loony to keep that going, right?
Yeah, probably. But, it depends. If you were about to go, if you were going to just about to buy a car with a car loan or go get a mortgage, I would say before you cancel it, get that loan in place. Because the rules right now about getting credit are so maniacally crazy that things like this matter. So, you just want to have a nice, healthy credit score. I'm sure he still has a great credit score.
All right, good to know. You're okay, Aaron. Don't freak
worry,
out too
Aaron.
much. That must have killed him. We were like, don't ever cancel a credit card. And he's like, whoops, as the envelope was dropping in the mail.
All right, don't worry. He's okay.
He's okay. All right, good to know. Thank you so much for being here, Jill. Always a pleasure.
I'm going to miss you in 2 weeks. I'm going to visit the Queen of England.
Okay, that's right. Have fun on your London trip. That's going to sound awesome. And then I won't be here anyway either. E3 is 2 weeks away. Yeah.
So in a month we have lunch.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, month lunch.
When
That's
the cats
fine.
are away. We're gonna have some fun, Richard.
I'm
Slumber
terrified.
party.
I'm simply terrified of that picture. That's just thanks again to Jill. Follow her on Twitter, Jill on Money.
That's
all right.
it.
What
Thanks
else
for having me.
You got it. Always a pleasure.
Love it.
having you.
Love it. If you have financial questions, ask Jill at moneywatch.com. I'll bring you onto my radio show. We'll get you all on the terrestrial radio, folks.
Yes,
Fun.
that's not a step backwards. It's a lateral step. Okay.
It might be a step backwards, but it's fun.
No, it is fun. All right, that's where you can check Jill out. We will be back tomorrow with a brand new show. Until then, I'm Jeff Bacalar.
I'm Jill Schlesinger.
And I'm Justin Yu.
It's the 404, high-tech, lowbrow. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.